ABBA, Belgium, October 17, 2019. Beloved ABBA, ever present in the heart of each one, in the joy of absence and presence, and in the space between each other, here comes the time of truth, the time that concerns no conscience and no world, that each one finds in his present and in his present instant. I come by my presence and by my words, and in the word/verb, to bring to your knowledge the meaning of what is lived, from now on in each heart, where the heart-to-heart no longer needs justification or intention. The time has come to erase what may have been believed, even today, about the content and reality of consciousness. In each ABBA unfolds this ultimate scene which naturally positions you by the grace of the intelligence of the light and by the grace of your humility in the unspeakable love, in the ultimate. Where no doubt or desire can emanate through this form, bringing you and leading you, whatever your lived experience, to the threshold of zero time, where it is necessary to understand and accept that there is nothing to undertake or justify, both in relation to history and to all worlds, in the truth of the time, in the truth of the present. In each of them lives the same alchemy, leading you to see for yourself the uselessness and fatuity of consciousness, whatever happens on your character's screen, as on the screen of this world. In any event occurring inside or outside, it is appropriate for you to accept, it is appropriate for you to be there, in the heart of the heart, in the space between each other, but also in each other with the same intensity and equality, so that naked joy may ignite each one in the consummation of love, and in the silence of the conscience itself. The interplay of the circumstances of your lives on the surface of this world must not lead to any justification or questioning, but simply to this silence, in which the alchemy of resurrection and acceptance is lived, restoring you finally and definitively to yourself, beyond old birth and death, so that you too may rejoice in this silent and interior joy, awakening you to what has always been present, and that the veils of oblivion, and that the veils of the incarnation have gradually hardened and thickened. All this is seen by each of you, whether in suffering, whether in fluidity or in fluidity, the result is always the same, allowing you to find yourself as soon as the humility of acceptance and acceptance realizes in you the ineffable presence and ineffable absence, in order to no longer depend precisely on what can still for many, still make relief and suffering, which is simply the usual mechanisms of consciousness, and this, in any world or universe that is. The time has come for the final wedding, that of the perpetual celebration of your absolute truth, without suffering any discussions, questions or justifications. And it is in the silence of space, present between each heart, encompassing all the times of illusion and all the spaces of the dream of creation, that it ends, finding you identical, you who have never moved, who have simply traversed all the dreams in all the worlds to this point, where the Alpha and the Omega can no longer be distinguished or separated. This is the way, the truth and the life of the one who wakes up and finds itself, whatever the horrors of this body, whatever your habits and whatever your head may say about it. Every instant and every moment now becomes an invitation to real life, which does not depend on any form, time or space, where everything is perfect, where everything is complete, where from your point of view is still called nothing, and which contains the whole, where nothing is necessary but to settle in this supreme joy of the resurrection. The intelligence of light, which is your manifestation of your presence within this body, allows everyone, without any difference and without any distinction, to reveal in himself the ineffable that he is, beyond the form and even beyond any suffering. You're invited to lay down the arms of every fight, every duality, every belief and every habit, in order to be fully available to the evidence of who you are. There is a gate, there is joy that does not depend on any history, any circumstance, or any future, because it has come, and it is present in the heart of every one heart, whatever your body tells you, whatever your head tells you, whatever others tell you, in some circumstances of relationships or re-encounters. It is therefore a permanent celebration of the good news. The time of eternal joy, without object or subject, takes hold in the heart of everyone, whatever their life, whatever their body and whatever their habits. You're invited at this instant of your presence, at this instant of your listening to simply embrace, beyond my words, what is there now, and that you can only recognize in an unspeakable light, and in an unspeakable absence, putting an end in a natural and increasingly spontaneous way to the last reticences and the last resistances. And at this instant, in the position of embrace, in the position of silence, your resurrection ends. The hour of your awakening, which you yourself have walked, which you yourself have imagined, and which you yourself have created, is resolved with the same intensity in every presence and in every form of this world, as in every world. This celebration is the ultimate celebration that spreads that good news to the four Orients and in every dimension. You have nothing else to do but to let yourself be picked up by the grace of evidence, and by the evidence of joy, putting an end to the ultimate fears, habits and conditioning. And the joy of grace alone, without your participation, allows you to open your eyes to the previous, absolute and total truth of who you have always been, regardless of all the dreams and worlds you have traveled. Listen and hear the purpose of the oath and promise which is played out in everyone, in countless ways, in countless ways, in countless ways, and which leads you, spontaneously, to live the passage. It is not a death, it is your awakening, the deepest part of the dream of creation, where all is forgiven, where all is pardoned, because it was only a dream, because it was only a nightmare, because it was only joys passing by, while joy, authentic and naked, will never pass. It was within the deepest depths of the form and density of this world that was enclosed, that you decided, long before you took shape, long before you became aware, to wake up. Beyond all judgment and appearance, beyond all fact, there is only evidence of this awakening, this grace and this joy. There is just to accept, to be present in the silence of the observer, in order to show yourself that you were dreaming, that you were playing, that you were suffering, because you had decided it on your own. This is how each ever spreads that good news, without wanting anything and without asking for anything. Then between each heart, in the space of this listening and receptivity, the unspeakable is revealed, beyond any form, as well as any thought. No one will want to oppose it, whatever the ultimate reluctance within your character and within the conditions of the current dream, which you yourselves have decided beyond any possible memory or reminiscence. At this very moment, in every possible way, and in every act and fact of your lives in this world, this same ultimate alchemy is unfolding, from your awakening to the truth, from whom you are beyond being as beyond non-being. No one can get lost, no one can get lost, no one can forget to remember what he has always been, is, and will be, ending desires, ending guilt, ending justification, as well as the need for any demonstration. Thus each ever in the making is the bearer of the same good news, which does not need words, but simply welcome, simply the embrace of hearts, beyond all flesh and beyond all contingencies. You're the revealed eternity, beyond presence and absence. This is how consciousness is consumed, because it has been the agent of the dream, the agent of creation, but also the agent of resolution. Listen and understand what the oath and promise tells you in the most intimate part of your inner silence. Beyond the last name you have borne and the first name you bear in this world, there is what is beyond what can be named, and what can be said. This is the one and only solution, which we all had when we were one, decided, even before within any manifestation, and even beyond the first world, as the first dream. I have come to establish the silence of truth, where joy can only be revealed from the instant you open your eyes to the truth, and not to your thoughts, bringing you back to the initial thought, that of the first dream of the first form, from the passage from the absolute to the first dream of the world, to the first dream of creation. None of you can avoid it and will not want to avoid the collective moment of the whole creation. On the very screen of the dream you are living, in your individual as well as in the collective, the same rule is established, the one that was named long ago the Law of One, and which made you the children of the Law of One, even for those of you who played with the children of Belial, with the children of the shadow. They are only you at other moments of the dream, at other moments of the thought and at other moments of the form. Then I invite you on this day to lay down and lay your burdens that you still seem to carry in the heart of your heart, in the silence of the truth. For no will, no intention, no desire, can never lead you there, but simply in this total acceptance of what perhaps you know and life, or what perhaps is still unknown to you and yet knocks at every minute, as at every breath, at the door of your heart. Each of you recognizes yourself in each other. There is the agape love, which makes no difference, which makes no property, which makes no difference according to forms or thoughts. The time has come to remember this, stranger, that you can only recognize, that you can only live, by letting life live your life, by letting being what is, and by letting not being what is not and will never be. Remember that it will never be an effort, that it will never be a path to follow, that it will never be a future, that it will never be a resolution of any past, but simply your ability to be in that unknown, absolute, and total truth. Just be here and now. Then the horns of abundance will be felt above your head. Then the solar disk will soften you with its radiation. The various fires of the heart will also be resolved in the silence of any manifestation, within the great emptiness, where you recognize yourself, without any error, without any thought, and without any doubt. Then, beloved of the One, you who have sown the worlds and enlightened them with your presence, simply remember who you are, beyond being, beyond form and beyond feeling. Just be there, in the heart of everyone. Just be there in every corner of space. Just be there in the instant of the present, putting an end to the illusory time or the dream, bringing you back to immobility whatever your gestures, whatever your occupations. You can only recognize yourself, you can only accept yourself. You can only be what you are, this unspeakable love that knows no history, no future and no past. Simply accept that every event and every element of your life is there only to make you rediscover that you are life, in every dream of everyone, in every world and in every universe. Everything else becomes cumbersome and everything else becomes heavy. Then elevate yourself, not to another place, not to a future, but to the heart of your heart, because it is your due. This is the memory of what has never moved, and yet has traveled through all the worlds, all the forms and all the dreams. It is simplicity, it is majesty. This is the gift of grace, which must be offered to everyone, in every look, in every embrace, in every word, where there is no friend or enemy, but simply yourself. For each of you is undoubtedly all the others, no matter how much you dither, no matter what the ultimate fears you may have. They are there only to make it easier for you to remember what has always been there. It is up to you to cultivate, whatever your occupations within this dream, the most just attitude, that of silence and embrace, so that the unknown is not only known but lived in its entirety, despite the appearance of the end of the dream on the screen of this world. It is thus through your positioning, which does not depend on you or any story, that the good news spreads from one person to another, but also to all universes and multiverses, calling each dream of creation to the same resolution, to the same end, because the dream has never begun. He registered from the initial instant, carrying in himself the final instant. From your faculty of acceptance, even of the unacceptable, lies the truth. The one that has never moved, that does not need a word, a form or a world, that does not need an explanation, that does not need understanding. Be gentle with yourself, whatever the hardness of your body, whatever the hardness of what you call your life. Be gentle with everyone, with the same equality and consistency. The intelligence of light that you are does not need you. It simply needs to remind you through the silence of grace, through the silence of your words, through the silence of your claims and through the very silence of your sufferings, which can only be crossed and accepted. Whatever the manifestations of your life, on a physical or subtle level, it has no importance and no longer represents any weight, except that of your habit still present, and being resolved at this very moment. Everything is a pretext to remember. In the event that you could describe as more dramatic, as in the event that you could describe as more joyful and satisfying, listen. Listen and understand what the silence tells you. Accept silence, it is the key to grace, it is the key to remembrance. You have named yourself by this last name and this first name, you have gone through phases of openness or reluctance, phases of suffering and joy, which, as always, are only passing through. Only what does not pass as absolute truth. And this concerns every ABBA. Be available to yourselves, be forgiving to yourselves and to each other. In this way, forgiveness also works, in the same way, towards the gift of grace and the gift of remembrance. Continue to live what life makes you live, in whatever event, with the same presence, the same lucidity, and the same transparency. Be the bearers of the good news that no word can explain, that no posture can make people adhere, but simply by being there, occupying the heart of your heart and occupying all the spaces of creation, even if they are not perceptible to you, even if they do not seem sensitive to you. In this there is nothing to feel, there is nothing to experience, and there is nothing to ask for, and I repeat, just to accept. In inner silence, utter this word of acceptance, and the resurrection will come to light. And the tears will come out of your eyes, at the same time as your lips will smile from this dream that has passed. Accept rest or accept overactivity with the same quality. The intelligence of light and life, in this period, knows much better than you what you need. Because that's exactly what you decided, even if you don't remember it completely yet. The acceptance itself and joy will make each brother and sister fruitful around you without asking for anything and without expecting anything. Silence. And there, in the silence of the space between each other, in the same instant that does not flow, where nothing can be measured, where nothing can be seen, but simply not. You're each in the same place, that of awakening and remembrance. Whatever the pains of this body, whatever the pains of your character, there is no guilt, no effort to seek or make. Just be there and it is there. Silence. You're the divine presence that gives itself to each one, beyond all energy, beyond all vibration. Simply, be present without reticence or questioning. This is the way of childhood, the way of innocence that you have always been, beyond any form or history, in the heart of each person and the same grace, whatever you may say. There is no difference, because there is only one of you, and it is in this that there has never been anyone, that it was a dream, like everything that happens, like death and birth. You have never been affected by it. You simply believed in it, in order to go through the history of the worlds, in order to go through all the dreams. Just be where you are. There is nothing to change, there is simply to implement, through silence, transparency. Everything else is superfluous, everything else is weight, and everything else is not alive, but has only passed through. Silence. And the same blessing emanates from the heart of every ABBA, in the heart of every consciousness, from every universe of the dream at this very instant. Everything that is illusory and all the elements of the dream setting, as you see on the surface of this world, consume themselves. This is a fire of bliss and joy, whatever you may still think of it. Just be still, just present, without waiting or hoping for anything, without fear. Then the fear will vanish of itself, then the suffering will have no reason to vanish. Demonstrate, whatever your age and whatever you are living through. Silence. Then ever blessed each ABBA, in the present instant and in the instant of your listening as well as your reading. Keep it simple, no matter how complex it may seem to you. The crossing is self-evident from the moment you say yes. But this yes is unconditional, this yes is without but. It is a total yes of the gift of grace, of the gift of your life to life, beyond form, where there can be no suffering, no condition and no limit. Silence. What I am telling you, and what we are experiencing at this instant, will be present at every instant in the unfolding of the illusion of time from the instant you accept, bringing every day an ever more total awakening, where nothing can be desired, where nothing can be asked for, where everything is accepted as the very evidence. And it is at the heart of this silence, this humility, this simplicity and this childhood, that everything is revealed to you, beyond all energy, all vibration, all perception of any kind whatsoever. This is your gift and this is who you are, the total gift. Because everything must be returned in order to be returned to yourself. Your ABBA, whatever your name, whatever your dreams, whatever your fears. Remember that all this only promotes your awakening in the realm of grace and absolute truth, which does not depend on any point of view, any positioning, or any conscience. This is your home and it has always been there. You are love, the substrate of creation, the substrate of dream at the resolution of dream. Beyond the vital flow, the vibrational fire and the igneous fire, there is the great silence of the great void which is also that great fullness, where nothing can be separated or divided. Silence. In each ABBA I deliver this great silence. In each ABBA I deliver the one truth. Silence. You are love, anterior to all light, anterior to all dreams, where creator and creature are only the same truth, thus putting an end to all distance, to all feelings of lack, where neither hope nor despair can be manifested. Accept that all is accomplished and you will be accomplished in the truth. You don't need anything else, just to be alive, just to be lucid, just to be available. Such is the acceptance and such is your awakening to the final abode, containing all the dwellings in which you have dreamed in countless consciences, in countless forms and in countless dimensions. Let yourself be impregnated by the gift of grace. The hour of collective awakening is pressing in every time that this earth is living from now on. There is only one way out, that of naked joy, prior to any consciousness as well as to any world. There couldn't be any more. You have gone through everything, you have lived everything, and this life in which you are so special is only the direct consequence of all the facets of the consciousness that you have already lived and which has led you, in this moment, to your embrace, your listening, your reading. Simply be present in my heart as in every heart, without difference. Silence. With the same intensity and fervor. Silence. The same essence, the same spirit, and the same nothingness. Silence. In this you recognize yourself every day, in an increasingly lucid way, whatever the reticences, fears or sufferings. They are there for that and for nothing else. The intelligence of the light lets you to desire nothing, to project nothing, but to accept everything, for you are all that happens, all that has happened, and all that is lost. You can never get lost in Agape's truth. You can never delude yourself or be deluded from the moment you remember what you were before the creation and the dissolution of the dream worlds. There is no distance, there is no time, there is no form, there is no world, there is no one, just you. Silence. And this puts an end to fragmentation, this puts an end to questioning. Everything else is vanity, everything else is habit, everything else is just what you wrote to get you to this point, the point of zero time. This happens in every form, in every planet, in every star, in every dimension. Silence. Then give grace to each ever present, to each suffering brother and sister, because not yet fully awakened. Silence. Where there is nothing to judge, and where no understanding is of any use to you. Listen, hear and light what your heart says about the heart. Silence. You are the space that encompasses all times, and you are the time that encompasses all spaces, without any specificity, without any characteristic. Silence. There has never been any distance, except in the space of illusory dream. There was never any time, except in the curvature of it. There has never been anyone, and only the love that happens to each person is to all worlds. Everything is there at this instant in the heart of your heart, in the heart of the evidence. Don't ask for anything. Be there with ABBA as ABBA is with everyone. Silence. Then agape, beyond any state, any form, is really who you are, and will never pass away, and can only wake up every day more intensely, more authentically, in a more direct way. You don't have to do anything. It is not a labor, it is not a path, it is not an effort, but simply the unspeakable of the present instant. Silence. Everyone resonates in everyone and much more than that, for everyone is in everyone else as in everyone else is in everyone, in the infinite possibilities, in the infinite worlds and forms, in this very moment, in this present instant. There is peace, where you will never again thirst or hunger for any experience or desire. Silence. This is ABBA's blessing on this day by the grace of the consummation of love, in the heart of every heart and every presence. Silence. In silence, in embrace and acceptance, there and then, as at every present instant, as in every event or non-event, it doesn't matter. Silence. The intelligence of light is available with strength in everyone who is available, in everyone who embraces. You have nothing to do, just to be the life that lives you, and the joy is there, despite the sufferings and fears, despite the apparent difficulties of your character or this world. Chaos only concerns the dream and it makes you happy. Chaos only concerns what happens. So you have to say yes to who you really are, that it be known to you, that it be interpersonal, that it be seen, that it be seen, that it be unknown. The same intensity of revelation is for everyone, the same awakening has rang for everyone in order to come out of dream, suffering, guilt. Silence. And that is now. This is the gift of ABBA, who will present himself with every breath, every day and every night. Silence. The shape of my body accompanies you constantly, for I am of you and nothing else but you, and yet each of you, with the same intensity, with the same gift of grace. You can only recognize yourself, you can only wake up. Be gentle, be patient, be humble and, above all, be true. There is nothing to hide when the gift of grace is there, no pain, no joy, no suffering. Accept everything, because you are the acceptance of the dream and the acceptance of the end of the dream. Silence. Be spontaneous and authentic, in your suffering as in your joy. There is nothing you can do about it and acceptance is the solution. Silence. I am ABBA and I am each of you, without any difference. And I greet you with a gift of grace. Remember, not some past but the origin of the dream, and you will recognize yourself, without vision, without form and without energy, in this great silence in the heart of the heart. I seal these words in the heart of your heart. They will resonate at every moment of your life. It is enough for you to be ABBA that you are, beyond the form, beyond your form, as well as the form of ABBA in this world. Then you will also say, beyond being the path, the truth and the life, that I am the Father of the same. There is not a creature that is not the Creator. The creators of the dream, in their sacred feminine, found and sung by Fehmarn, have accompanied you until this moment. And so I bless you. Silence. It is now time for the silence of my words to work through your acceptance and the consummation of love. Let it be what it is. Let it be what it always has been. Nothing can limit you, even your form. This is freedom where there is neither nor exterior, but simply the freedom of the gift of love, of the agave presence, restoring you to yourself. Silence. ABBA returns to his abode, in every heart here present, as in every world. I greet your awakening. Silence. I greet your love. Silence. I say to you forever and ever, in the ineffable naked love. Amachi ABBA. No Hermiskaya. Ataunsmarkaya. Atanska. Through Jean-Luc Young. Les Transformations. English translation. LMF.